Most people shatter long before life ever truly puts them to the test, not because existence itself is overly harsh, but because their mental fortitude is far too fragile. They allow their feelings to guide their every step. They permit the judgments of others to shape who they are. They hand over the reins to fear, letting it make all the calls. And when the weight of adversity finally bears down, they collapse entirely. But Machiavelli grasped a truth that eludes the vast majority of humanity. The most resilient mind isn't the one that's the most compassionate. It's the one that's under the tightest rein. He knew that your mind is your sovereign domain. If you fail to govern it with an iron fist, someone or something else will seize that throne without hesitation. You must realize that achieving mental invincibility isn't a matter of luck or happenstance. You don't simply arise one morning and find yourself impervious to the opinions of the crowd. You forge that unbreakable mindset layer by layer through relentless discipline, calculated emotional distance, and cunning foresight. The chaos of the world will relentlessly attempt to erode your resolve. It will deploy rejection, treachery, and defeat as its weapons to probe your defenses. And the average person will disintegrate under that assault. But you are cut from a different cloth. You've sought out this message because you're exhausted from permitting fleeting emotions to orchestrate your existence. You're here because you crave mastery over your responses, your concentration, and your inner tranquility. Like a monarch who presides over his realm with quiet but absolute authority. So, before we plunge deeper, pose this critical question to yourself. Do you hold dominion over your own mind, or does the external world dictate its every whim? Because the response to that inquiry charts the course of your fate. If you surrender control of your emotions to the whims of circumstance, you'll forever remain a pawn in its game. But if you seize command of your mental landscape, you ascend to untouchability. Untouchable in the face of setbacks. Untouchable amid disloyalty. Untouchable within turmoil. Every trial, every slight, every ordeal will serve only to hone your edge sharper. From this precise instant, adopt the mindset of Machiavelli. Disengage from raw sentiment. Scrutinize the behaviors of those around you. Employ discipline as your impenetrable shield and reticence as your most lethal blade. For once you establish sovereignty over your mind, no force can ever disrupt your serenity again. Now, before we embark on these 7 unyielding teachings, declare this aloud with me and etch it into the comments below. From this day forward, I elect fortitude over fleeting feeling. Number 1. Seize command of the story. Authority originates in how you're perceived. The manner in which others view you dictates how they engage with you, how they place their faith in you, and how they come to dread you. Machiavelli comprehended this fundamental reality with crystal clarity. He recognized that the realm is not governed by unvarnished truth. It is dominated by semblance and illusion. Individuals don't peer into your core motivations. They react to the facade you project. They don't dissect your intellect. They respond to the persona you cultivate in a culture. Fixated on superficial impressions, the individual who manipulates the prevailing narrative wields dominion over the very fabric of existence. You might possess profound wisdom, exceptional abilities, or immense strength. But if you permit the masses to craft your tale, you relinquish your sovereignty long before any confrontation arises. The gravest error you could commit is presuming that honesty in isolation will safeguard you. It simply won't. Honesty is frequently too subdued, too nuanced, too readily dismissed. Machiavelli proclaimed, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for all men can see a thing, but few come so near as to touch it." This signifies that society responds to what is visible on the surface, not to what lies beneath. People assess your worth before a single syllable escapes your lips. They gauge your resilience based on your stance, your inflection, your poise, your enigma. If you project hesitation, the world will devour you without mercy. If you exude mastery, they'll pause before daring to challenge you. To attain mental invulnerability, you must transform into the sole scribe of your own legend. You must intentionally mold how others decipher your reticence, your deeds, and even your missteps. Never over-explain. The instant you commence justifications, you've already ceded your command. A serene quietude resonates far more profoundly than frantic defenses. Allow them to speculate. Permit them to conjecture. Let them ponder endlessly. The scarcer their knowledge, the greater your leverage. In every gathering, an unseen contest for supremacy unfolds, a skirmish of impressions. The boisterous crave the spotlight, the astute seek abs. Elude control. Upon entering, you needn't proclaim your identity. Permit your aura to articulate before you utter a sound. Humans detect assurance long before they comprehend it. They sense dominion long before they hear its voice. Every motion, every interlude, every nuanced glance conveys a declaration. I am the one in charge. You don't require endorsement, you demand exactitude. Grasp this fully. When you dominate perception, you can warp the very essence of truth. An individual who seems unruffled is perceived as formidable. An individual who appears frantic is viewed as feeble. You can confront turmoil and yet maintain an air of tranquility. And that mere veneer will shield you more effectively than a barrage of justifications. That's the essence of psychological sway. The psyche accepts what the senses reinforce repeatedly. If society continually witnesses you as collected, self-assured and tactical, it will interact with you in kind, even as you internally refine that mastery. Machiavelli posited that one's repute forms the bedrock of all influence. He inscribed, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few feel what you are." Never let that slip from memory. Project strength even amid doubt. Project steadfastness even under duress. Regulate your timbre, your stare, your utterances, and your vitality. Your hush should eclipse the clamor of others. When individuals attempt to categorize you, refrain from retorting. Redraft the category via your conduct. When they undervalue you, let accomplishments proclaim the truth. When they interrogate you, counter with serene assurance. Mastery isn't synonymous with deceit. It's about navigation, determining how your vitality and visage are interpreted amid pandemonium. Once you conquer this, you'll cease pursuing affirmation and commence eliciting reverence. You'll no longer exist according to others' definitions. You'll define your own essence, because the one who possesses his narrative possesses his fate. Now, I urge you to inscribe this declaration in the comments. I command my visage. Number 2, disengage from sentiment. Sentiment serves as the simplest tool the world employs to subjugate you. The second someone can ignite your fury, your sorrow, or your dread, they possess you utterly. Machiavelli discerned this with unparalleled acuity. He noted that those who yield to emotional impulses are foreseeable, and foreseeable psyches are effortlessly steered. Disengagement isn't synonymous with frigidity. It's potency veiled. It's the capacity to witness mayhem without permitting it to infiltrate your psyche. When you disengage, you halt the squandering of vitality on matters unworthy of your attention. You cease responding to every affront, every setback, every misguided anticipation. You commence replying with mastery rather than impulse, and in that pivotal shift, you evolve into a force to reckon with. The majority boast of authenticity, believing emotional outpouring equates to vigor. Yet unchecked sentiment is susceptibility masquerading as candor. When you're overly hasty in your responses, you unveil your vulnerabilities. You lay bare the points where assaults can land. Humans perceive it, and even subconsciously they'll prod those sensitivities to dominate you. That's the mechanism of influence, not via brute force, but via sentimental access. Machiavelli articulated, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." He implied that true sagacity resides in restraint, acting solely when it advances your agenda. The imprudent erupt instantaneously. The sagacious remain composed until the opportune strike. Disengagement doesn't imply you cease experiencing, it signifies you cease being enslaved by experiences. You can register agony without submerging in it. You can recognize disloyalty without allowing it to demolish your equilibrium. The key is straightforward. You are not your sentiments, you are the observer of them. Every sentiment resembles a transient tempest. Boisterous, untamed, ephemeral. Don't pursue the lightning. Remain anchored and observe its departure. That anchorage is authority. It's what Machiavelli termed the might of sovereignty. The aptitude to maintain serenity when all others succumb to duress. Individuals will dread that serenity because they cannot fathom it. And what eludes comprehension eludes manipulation. Envision this. Two individuals confront identical indignity. One detonates in rage, forfeiting mastery over his facade and his expressions. The other gazes directly at the perpetrator and merely grins. The latter triumphs sans utterance. He didn't retaliate. He redirected. He didn't engage in combat. He scrutinized. That's cerebral supremacy. It's not about repressing sentiment. It's about possessing it. You govern what emanates from your psyche. You select when to reply. You determine when to advance and when to bide. That degree of governance distinguishes the overlords from the subjugated. Machiavelli counseled leaders to manifest mercy, fidelity, humanity, sincerity, piety, and indeed embody them, yet with a psyche so structured that when exigency demands the contrary, you can pivot seamlessly. This denotes you must disengage from your sentiments when they jeopardize your tactics. If your sentiment furthers your objective, harness it. If it undermines your stance, mute it. Sentiment must subserve you, not enthrall you. Disengagement also safeguards your tranquility. Once you cease responding to all stimuli, existence grows more serene. You halt expending vitality on validations. You cease elucidating to those who will never grasp. You cease anticipating equity in a realm forged on dominance. Sentimental detachment yields lucidity. You commence discerning configurations rather than predicaments. You cease internalizing everything and commence utilizing it as intelligence. That's when you commence triumphing in hush. When you conquer sentimental disengagement, you cease being a thrall to disarray. No affront, disloyalty, or fiasco can genuinely affect you. You may flex, but you never fracture. You traverse existence with composure, not trepidation, because no entity can unsettle a psyche that declines to retort. Inscribe this declaration in the comments. I experience, yet I do not falter. Number 3. Anticipate disloyalty. Rely on tactics. Disloyalty isn't an anomaly in existence. It's a recurring motif. The quicker you acknowledge that fidelity is ephemeral, the swifter you'll cease being stunned when individuals pivot against you. Machiavelli cautioned that allegiance endures solely as long as it aligns with another's gain. When that gain dissipates, so does their dedication. To endure in a domain propelled by self-gain, you must supplant sentimental reliance with tactical vigilance. The sagacious individual doesn't hinge on vows. He constructs frameworks that shield him when those vows shatter. The majority endure because they anticipate constancy in a realm fueled by expediency. They deem allegiance hallowed, but in truth, it's contingent. Anticipating disloyalty doesn't render you suspicious. It renders you equipped. Machiavelli once declared, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." He signified that individuals will alter their fidelity whenever it advantages them, and you must never internalize that. Disloyalty isn't invariably an act of malevolence. Occasionally, it's merely human essence unveiling itself. When you comprehend that, you cease responding with ire and commence replying with perspicacity. You no longer perceive disloyalty as calamity, you view it as insight. It reveals who prioritizes benefit over honor, who feigns from necessity, and who will forsake you when the tides shift. The most tactical psyches don't depend on fidelity, they depend on architecture. They don't bind their endurance to individuals, they bind it to mechanisms. When you rely on sentiment, you render yourself reliant. When you rely on blueprint, you render yourself autonomous. Always possess a scheme that operates even if all turn their backs. Always situate yourself so no solitary entity wields the capacity to obliterate your serenity or advancement. That's not frigid, it's astute. Detachment from unseeing reliance doesn't extinguish bonds, it hones them. You commence valuing deeds over declarations and motifs over assurances. When you anticipate disloyalty, you cease overcommitting to delusions. You earn through adulation. You detect discrepancies. You learn to interpret motives before they pierce your core. Machiavelli believed that prescience is the supreme manifestation of authority. A leader who foresees deceit prior to its occurrence never forfeits mastery. He inscribed, "The wise man does not expose himself needlessly to danger, since there are few things for which he cares sufficiently, but he is willing, in great crises, to give even his life, knowing that under certain conditions it is not worthwhile to live." This isn't gloom, it's pragmatism. You learn to cherish selectively. You learn to safeguard your vitality from undeserving pursuits and unsteady confederates. The majority get annihilated not because they're betrayed, but because they rebuff the notion it could transpire. They dwell in denial until the dagger is embedded. The Machiavellian perspective eradicates that mirage. It embraces human fickleness as fact and readies accordingly. You don't erect barriers around your essence. You erect portals that unlock solely for those who've demonstrated their fidelity through duration and hardship. And even then, you never overlook that anyone can mutate. That's not skepticism, it's potency. It means you're vigilant but not acrid, prudent but not aloof, cognizant but never frail. When you anticipate disloyalty, you cease dreading it. You attain mental untouchability because naught astonishes you anymore. Your tactics become your bulwark. Your lucidity becomes your panoply. You no longer chase fidelity, you elicit reverence through your composure and readiness, because the one who foresees disloyalty never bows to it. I urge you to inscribe this declaration in tea. He comments, "I rely on tactics, not sentimentality." Number 4, project tranquility. Cogitate coldly. In a tumultuous realm, tranquility is the most daunting embodiment of strength. The majority equate equanimity with fragility. But Machiavelli perceived it as an instrument of cerebral combat. When you manifest serenity whilst others succumb to frenzy, you emanate supremacy sans utterance. The serene psyche discerns what the agitated cannot perceive. The frigid cogitator identifies configurations concealed behind sentiment. When you can project tranquility amid disarray, individuals commence fearing your mastery. They detect that naught can unsettle you, and that enigma evolves into supremacy. Machiavelli inscribed, "A prince must learn how not to be good." He didn't imply brutality, he implied sentimental regimen, the aptitude to detach from benevolence when it erodes authority. Being benevolent is facile. Maintaining serenity when all ignites around you is celestial. When individuals anticipate your fracture and you endure, their delusion of dominion over you disintegrates. Tranquility terrifies the volatile. It induces the impetuous to pause. They cannot comprehend why you don't retort, why you don't contend, why you don't disintegrate. That hush becomes a reflector mirroring their mayhem. Your immobility exposes their deficiency of mastery. The world reveres the one who remains centered under duress because it's scarce. Most psyches are thralls to response. They articulate too hastily, resolve too prematurely, and forfeit all to sentiment. The frigid tactician halts, examines, and selects precisely when to advance. Forbearance isn't frailty, it's dominion over chrono. Logi. Machiavelli once proclaimed, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." That equilibrium necessitates a tranquil facade and a calculating psyche beneath. You must project serene like water, yet keen like ice under the veneer. Individuals should detect no vestige of your internal machinations. Never unveil strain, skepticism, or dread. Let them speculate if you even experience it. The less they discern of your sentimental condition, the more unforeseeable you become. Unforeseeability is authority. It compels others to operate on your conditions. To project tranquility, you must first discipline your inner discourse. Every vexation, every affront, every unforeseen dilemma must be met with one inquiry. Does responding aid my triumph? If the response is negative, you remain mute. That muteness unsettles individuals more than ire ever could. A serene response extinguishes disputes swifter than hostility. The frigid psyche doesn't pursue victory via verbiage, it triumphs via vitality. Even when encircled by animosity, maintain your inflection deliberate, your gaze unwavering, your movements sparse. Assurance is conveyed through immobility, not clamor. This teaching isn't about concealing sentiment, but mastering its exhibition. You must regulate the spectacle of your presence. What individuals witness should perpetually advance your benefit. Project rationality when others are irrational. Grin when they anticipate fury. Ambulate leisurely when they haste. Demonstrate that you are never displaced unless you elect to be. Over time, this halo become panoply. No one discerns your fracture point because you never disclose it. You become the tranquility in every gale, the scrutineer among reactors, the tactician among casualties. Now, I urge you to inscribe this declaration in the comments. My tranquility is my potency. Number 5. Preserve authority in hush. Hush isn't void, it is mastery in its most pristine manifestation. The more you articulate, the more you divulge. Every superfluous term becomes a portal into your psyche. And once individuals can decipher you, they can anticipate you. Machiavelli comprehended that authority is safeguarded via enigma. He knew that potency is conserved through obscurity. When you articulate less, individuals commence envisioning more. They populate the hush with their own apprehensions, uncertainties, and suppositions. That ambiguity becomes your leverage. The reticent individual is never disregarded. He's scrutinized, dissected, and murmured about. The world undervalues those who articulate sparingly until they act, and by the time they do, it's already too tardy to halt them. Terms are inexpensive. Everyone employs them to solicit endorsement. But authority doesn't explicate itself. When you rationalize your choices, you grant others jurisdiction to critique them. When you debate, you concede that another's viewpoint matters. Hush demolishes that mirage. It transmits a lucid message. You owe no one comprehension. Machiavelli once proclaimed, "Never was anything great achieved without danger." He signified that even restraint bears hazard, but hush is a deliberate hazard. It invites misinterpretation, but it also commands dread. Individuals don't dread what they can foresee. They dread what they can't construe. The quiet personage who hearkens more than he articulates becomes the most perilous presence in any chamber because everyone speculates what he's cogitating and what he's scheming. To conquer hush, you must first surmount the impulse to validate yourself. Most people articulate to shield their ego. They elucidate, defend, and exaggerate to seem in command. But every elucidation leaks vulnerability. The Machiavellian psyche has no such necessity. It articulates solely with purpose, solely when the outcome demands it. You must learn to be at ease with intervals, with the strain of unexpressed terms, with permitting others to submerge in their own din. When you remain mute, you compel others to expose their cogitations. You learn their frailties, while safeguarding yours. Hush transforms dialogues into reflectors that mirror the verity of others. but never yours. In bargaining, disputes, or confrontations, hush warps the arena. It induces the impatient to divulge excessively. It induces the haughty to waver. Every moment you withhold your tongue, they exhibit more of their tactics. Machiavelli's doctrine flourished on scrutiny. The mute scrutineer perceives everything the boisterous overlooks. You can interpret micro-expressions, inflection alterations, discrepancies, details concealed from those too occupied articulating. Hush isn't absence of authority, it's its distillation. Like a blade encased but prepared, it retains vitality without dissipation. Never undervalue how hush alters perception. A personage who articulates infrequently is presumed to cogitate profoundly. Their terms bear gravity because they are rare. You don't need to be the most erudite in the chamber. You just need to be the one who doesn't need to articulate. That alone distinguishes you from the impulsive and the insecure. Over time, hush becomes your essence. It renders you unforeseeable, revered, and dreaded simultaneously. When you do elect to articulate, your voice slices through the atmosphere like a weapon because it's employed with exactitude, not routine. Authority isn't clamorous, it's calibrated. The mightiest presence doesn't require noise to be observed. It requires poise, scrutiny, and forbearance. Preserve your schemes concealed, your sentiments indecipherable, and your terms minimal. When individuals can't decode you, they can't vanquish you. Hush keeps you untouchable, untamed, and one stride ahead of every psyche attempting to dominate yours. Inscribe this declaration in the comments. My hush articulates authority. Number 6. Conquer the craft of non-attendance. Presence forfeits value when it becomes perpetual. The more attainable you are, the less you are esteemed. Machiavelli comprehended that scarcity is the core of sway. He knew that a leader who manifests too frequently becomes mundane, but one who manifests sporadically becomes legend. Non-attendance isn't retreat, it's tactics. It generates separation that fosters inquisitiveness, sovereignty, and yearning. When individuals can't perpetually access you, they commence envisioning your merit. They replay your utterances, dissect your hush, and anticipate your reappearance. That anticipation is authority. Every eminent tactician knows that timing supersedes frequency. Manifest excessively and your presence loses its heft. Manifest selectively and every ingress feels key, an occasion. The feeble crave perpetual attention because they dread oblivion. The mighty withdraw deliberately to render their presence weightier. Machiavelli once proclaimed, "Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear." The sagacious personage comprehends that non-attendance can engender both. When you vanish, individuals either yearn for you or dread forfeiting your benevolence. Both sentiments grant you mastery. Continuous exposure dulls enigma. When individuals know everything about you, they cease revering you. But when you become marginally beyond grasp, they commence imagining more than they know. That imagination fortifies your facade far more than visibility ever could. Non-attendance also shields your psyche from clamor. Constant interplay depletes concentration and exposes your motifs. The Machiavellian cogitator values isolation not for solace, but for recalibration. When you excise yourself from the throng, you regain vista. You commence perceiving what others are too diverted to notice. The throng moves by sentiment. The detached psyche moves by lucidity. To conquer non-attendance, you must retreat without elucidation. Don't proclaim your hush. Don't rationalize your separation. Simply evaporate when requisite and re-emerge solely when your presence advances an objective. Those who notice your non-attendance reveal who values you. Those who don't reveal who never signified. The rarest psyches comprehend the cadence of presence. They know when to advance and when to evaporate. Machiavelli counseled rulers to manage visibility meticulously, understanding that separation sustains authority. A constant blaze extinguishes swiftly, but a regulated one endures through epochs. You don't need to be omnipresent to be sensed. You need to be recollected. Your non-attendance must resonate louder than others' presence. Let individuals speculate where you are, what you're cogitating, and why you withdrew. That uncertainty keeps you pertinent even when absent. It renders your hush echo longer than their clamor. Disappearing tactically also filters fidelity. The individuals who remain steadfast during your hush are the ones who truly align with your vista. Non-attendance becomes a trial of character. It segregates the inquisitive from the devoted. Most individuals seek attention because they gauge worth by response. But response is brittle. True worth is gauged by the hush that ensues your non-attendance. If individuals still discourse about you, reference you, or attempt to interpret your actions while you're gone, you've already erected authority that doesn't depend on presence. When you conquer non-attendance, you command attention sans exertion. You become a notion rather than merely a personage, something that lingers even when unseen. The world pursues what it can't possess and reveres what it can't dominate. So retreat when you feel the impulse to over-validate yourself. Create separation that magnifies your value. Evaporate not to conceal, but to remind the world that your time and vitality are privileges, not assurances. Now I urge you to inscribe this declaration in the comments. My non-attendance amplifies my authority. Number 7. Govern your mind. Govern all. Every manifestation of authority commences within the psyche. If you cannot command your cogitations, no tactic, affluence, or sway will ever endure. Machiavelli comprehended that the grandest triumphs are secured in hush within the bastions of one's own psyche. The realm pertains to those who can direct their concentration while others submerge in diversion. To govern your mind is to master every arena, because every external contest commences as an internal response. The mightiest personage is not the one who dominates others. It's the one who dominates himself when everything endeavors to unsettle him. When you possess your inner realm, naught external can genuinely affect you. Most people forfeit the struggle long before it initiates. They permit anxiety to dictate their trajectory and sentiment to dictate their resolutions. Their cogitations move like foliage in the gale, propelled by circumstance, steered by dread. Machiavelli perceived this frailty distinctly. He once inscribed, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." What he truly signified was that the milieu mirrors the psyche. If your environs are tumultuous, it's because your mind permits tumult. If your world is replete with clamor, it's because your cogitations are unguarded. Mastery commences with awareness. Scrutinize your cogitations sans critique. Discipline them like warriors who must heed command. Your mind is both your vassal and your overlord. If you fail to administer it, it will betray you. Every doubt, dread, and vulnerability will ascend and reign over your resolutions. But once you learn to detach from impulsive cogitation, your mind becomes a weapon keener than any edge. Machiavellian fortitude isn't born from aggression, it's born from poise. The disciplined cogitator advances slow. But every advance incisions deeper. He doesn't permit the past to torment him or the future to overwhelm him. He resides in deliberate mastery of the present. That level of awareness is what segregates the vanquishers from the vanquished. Mental supremacy demands perpetual training. You must learn to supplant dread with logic, sentiment with intention, clamor with hush. Every time your mind drifts toward frailty, reel it back through self-sovereignty. Every instant you resist impulse, you grow mightier. Over time, your cogitations commence subserving you instead of undermining you. The world cannot sway someone who is internally harmonized. When affronts, disloyalty, or fiasco arrive, they forfeit potency because your mind declines to endow them with significance. Authority doesn't emanate from resisting the world. It emanates from mastering how your mind interprets it. Machiavelli believed that reason must perpetually reign over desire. Desire obfuscates judgment. Reason directs it. The one who can remain detached while still resolute becomes untouchable. Every empire commences as a disciplined cogitation. Every downfall commences as a diverted one. When your mind is governed by dread, the world manipulates you through it. When your mind is governed by fortitude, no manipulation can prevail. Mastery of mind equates to mastery of fate. You cease living reactively and commence moving deliberately, step by step, choice by choice, unshaken by mayhem. Govern your mind as a sovereign governs a kingdom. Protect it from incursion by ignorance, corruption, and doubt. Nourish it with discipline, guard it with concentration, and let hush be its throne. Once you govern your cogit, you no longer chase peace, you become it. Inscribe this declaration in the comments. My mind heeds only me. Attaining mental untouchability doesn't signify you experience naught. It doesn't signify you become frigid, callous, or severed from verity. It signifies that naught, no affront, no disloyalty, no fiasco can dominate you. You become the sovereign of your responses, the proprietor of your concentration, and the builder of your serenity. Every challenge transforms into a teaching. Every clash transforms into intelligence. Every impediment transforms into a chance to fortify your mastery. Machiavelli instructed that authority is acquired through regimen, scrutiny, and tactics, not through fortune or transient benevolence. When you implement these teachings, you don't merely endure the world, you navigate it with sovereignty, lucidity, and inexorable tranquility. Recall, mastery commences within. When you govern your mind, no external condition can unsettle your base. Detachment safeguards you. Hush amplifies you. Non-attendance augments your value. Tranquility intimidates. Tactics shields you from disloyalty. And perception molds verity around you. Each teaching bolsters the other, forging a citadel of cerebral fortitude that cannot be violated. The untouchable psyche doesn't retort. It dominates through presence, preparation, and forbearance. You cease responding to existence and commence directing it. If you discovered value in these teachings, take initiative. Strike the like button to demonstrate your dedication to evolution. Disseminate this video with someone who requires awakening their inner fortitude, and subscribe to this channel because mastering the Ind is a voyage, not a solitary teaching. Every fresh video will hone your comprehension, broaden your tactics, and reinforce your determination. Hush, tactics, self-mastery. That is the trajectory of the untouchable. Step into it, forge it, embody it. Let the world assay you and observe as naught can ever unsettle you again. Remember to leave your declarations in the comments. Let the words resound in your psyche and commit to governing yourself first, because the moment you possess your mind, you possess all.